Yo, welcome
Dude,
to the Healthy Wealthy Family. This will be our first YouTube live. Zach and I have been streaming to the Facebook group or failing to stream to the Facebook group a handful of the times. It's probably been 3 months now that we've been doing this, right?
has it
We
been that
start,
many months already?
I feel like it. Like we
It's like,
started with a 4 week challenge,
mm,
and that's where the Facebook group was born. That was, geez, wow, yeah, that was 3 months ago, I think.
that's crazy.
And then we talked goal setting. We've talked a lot of mindset stuff. We've done a little bit of the health and a little bit of the wealth and a little bit of the family. And tonight we're going to be talking about protecting your time. I know that this is something that is important to me, and I know it's important to you, especially with your W-2 and your growing family and your entrepreneurship, right? So time is a premium to all of us, but to you especially. So, when I say protecting your time, like, what does that kind of mean to you? And I'm gonna riff after you go.
So it's making sure that, like, I know you're the same way I am. Like, as somebody who is a coach, I want to help as many people. It's just kind of my natural inclination is to help people with their problems or whatever it may be, because, I do want to see other people succeed. So when that happens, it tends to take away from the things that I need to be focusing on. And sometimes I use it as a crutch to not do the hard things and just do those things because it's helping people and can feel good about it. But for me, like, protecting your time is to make sure that you are strategic and purposeful with whatever time that you have, and to make sure that you're not letting anything and everything get in the way of you making at least the minimal next step to bring yourself forward, whether it is business or your relationships or your family and health as well, right? You want to take away from those important aspects of your life. So you want to protect those specific pieces of time in your life from giving it all away to other people, and scheduling and being cognizant of helping people still, but setting aside a specific amount of time so that way it doesn't invade the remaining time that you have.
Yeah, I love that you kind of mentioned the protecting these aspects of your time as well. I I got thinking about this morning, and this was kind of, I wasn't expecting you to be here because you had a meeting that you were going to. So I was like, what the heck can I talk about? And like, I was reading through my journal, like, trying to get ideas for what to talk about, and the quote, "A candle loses nothing by lighting other candles," came to mind. Right? We think of that as from like a go giver mentality of giving to people. Yeah, the candle physically doesn't lose anything, right, when it lights another candle, and that's great because we want to be going out and lighting as many candles. But then the devil's advocate, so to speak, in my head starts going, well, how can I argue that? And it, from a external perspective, it takes effort to pick the candle up, and it takes effort to tip it over or to bring the other, right, to, there's got to be some sort of action that goes between the two candles.
Mm-hmm.
And the candle that needs the light maybe has reached out to the other candle that has the light, but the other candle that has the light still has to put in effort. And so I'm thinking, somebody reaches out to me on Facebook going, hey, I have a deal that I need help with, or hey, what's your buy box? All these things that do take effort of on my part to go out and light other candles. And I didn't want to make this negative to where we shouldn't be going out and giving value and providing as much as we can, because uh, I think I speak for you when I say that people, when I was getting started and even still now, people are still giving, and it's part of the, like, what is it, a pay it forward sort of mentality, is that like somebody gave their time to me, the very least I could do is give time and effort to other people. And so I want to be going and lighting other candles, but how do I still protect my health and my family and my wealth while doing the same? And so I wanted to talk about some strategies that I personally use, and I think that some of them are probably aligned with you. You might even have some other ones that I didn't even think of. Um, but the first one being kind of what you alluded to is time blocking, and that's something that we've talked about probably too much.
Every time. I mean, the podcast that I do, the Wealthy Wellbeing podcast, I talk to, business owners and real estate investors and gym owners and all that. And I go like, hey, you have all this stuff going on. How do you get it all done? How do you make sure you're getting the right things done? And it's consistently their number one thing is, what are the things I need to do, and blocking time out to get those things done. So it's not, we've talked about it so many times because it's so important, and so many people who are successful in what they do
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. That's why as you're saying that, I'm thinking I don't so much anymore, but I used to listen to Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and that's something he talks about from a writing perspective. And I've heard other like actual writers, like book writers, that the way you get jokes written, the way you get books written is that you set aside time to do it, even if you're not feeling like, oh, I'm not feeling very creative. That's how you get creative, is by putting yourself in front of the computer, by putting yourself in front of the notepad and blocking out that time. Like, no, this is my writing time.
Mm-hmm.
And so as entrepreneurs, like, I have a list of things on my notepad, and they're not necessarily in order, right? They're just things that get jotted down. And as my day ends, I look at the next day and I see what calls are already scheduled, what meetings I have already scheduled, and I take from that list. And I go, okay, well, here's the 9 to 10 slot. What's the hour thing that I can fill in here? Block it off. And I do like to leave some white room. This is just me personally. I say white room because I color code everything, right? Green for me. Brittany's are orangish. I have personal things that's like a teal. She has personal things that's more purple, right? And so we look at the calendar and we want to see a rainbow, but there's just leave little gaps sometimes, just because something might come up. Hey, the freaking water department called, and I need to call them back and change my credit card on file. Right? Just as an example, I say that because that happened today. So it's yeah.
It was very specific, I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. But if you're just totally strict and scheduled completely, there's no wiggle room there to be able to do those things, or you feel like, what am I giving up almost by making this phone call now, right? I don't want to. I want to respect the other people's time. So if it's a call, I'm not going to be like, hey, I got to call the water department. Wait on me for 10 minutes, right? But yeah, like having it all time blocked out from the highest and most important tasks. And then it kind of reminded me, and I talked about this on somebody's podcast recently, actually, that I believe it was Brandon Turner that said it, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but you'll get the gist of it. If Michael Jordan, right? I love basketball, and I don't know any CrossFitters that are famous, but if a famous CrossFitter was like, hey, you want to go have lunch, and you put it on your schedule, you wouldn't miss that lunch, right? But going and having lunch with Michael Jordan and going and having lunch with this famous CrossFitter, while would be cool, it doesn't move your needle in your life really very much, if at all. But we don't always honor our own scheduled things that we put on our calendar, even when we're the most, we can move the needle the most. And so honoring your calendar, like putting it on the schedule and honoring it, is the second step of time blocking. Like you got to put it on your calendar, but then you got to actually like honor the calendar. I have been accused of it from time to time, of going over the calendar sometimes, like, hey, I got this time block to be editing videos for shorts or whatever, and I'm 15 minutes over the calendar. Like, no, you're supposed to be doing something different right now. That's why it's the calendar. That's why it's on there. And the calendar can stress people out by having it, but I find freedom in the rigidity of it.
Yeah, and there's a balance between being flexible and giving yourself grace, right? And being super strict with the calendar. And it's nice to see, because especially Google Calendar, that's what I use, is like you can slide things from one day to the next, and it makes it easier. It's like, okay, this ran over, somebody had to reschedule, right? That happens all the time, where stuff pops up and you have to reschedule, and that's fine. but now I move that over. Can I move something else up that gives me free time later, whether it's to get more time with the family, or, you know, maybe now I wasn't planning on going to the gym. Now I can squeeze that in, or whatever that might look like. Or I can, you know, schedule another call with somebody else, or it's time to reach out to other people who maybe I can schedule calls that will move things forward. So you can, the calendar is nice, and the time blocking and have it planned out is nice because you can follow it, and it doesn't, you don't wake up in the morning going, I wonder what I'm going to do today. And then you don't do anything because you're just kind of free flowing with the day, right? You have an agenda. It may not be perfect. It probably won't be perfect, but you can go, sorry, I can't, you know, hop on a call right now. I have X coming up, or I'm in the middle of X, or whatever that might be. And it's an excuse to, it's a nice way to be able to tell people that I can't do anything right now, but hey, like that's what protecting your time is, right? Like, how can I pick the thing that's going to move me forward? Now I can say, hey, I got stuff blocked off in this time. If you want, we can schedule something at X time when I am free.
Yeah, like it makes it so you don't have to lie to the other person too.
Right.
Like, no, I have stuff on the calendar right now that I'm supposed to be doing, and I gotta honor it. I made the commitment to myself to be calling sellers or whatever the time block thing is. I did fail to mention too at the beginning of this that one thing that was kind of coming to mind when I was thinking about being this devil's advocate and how we could talk about protecting your time was there are people out there that will just be sticking their candle out constantly asking for your time, and they will maybe not with negative intentions be doing it, but they're not going to go then take that lit candle and go light other people's candles. They may not even be taking the light and putting it to use in their own lives. I find that a lot too, is that people will reach out and be asking questions, and then a month or two later they're asking the same questions, and you're like, dude, have you not been putting what I talked about a month ago into place or into action? You would know the answer to this already. And so, yeah, being able to identify those people too, and with as much respect and tact as possible, just be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that with you anymore. But the next technique or tactic or tool that I have that I've used is YouTube. And so, you know, we have our podcasts and we do our lives and we make shorts and everything, but those are all listed and for public. We want to be attracting people to those by doing SEO and all the other things. But there's also this tool on YouTube by unlisting your video, where for all intents and purposes, you can send somebody the link and it looks like a normal video and it will take them to your channel. So they could go click through to other videos from there, but it provides you an opportunity to make a 2 to 5 or however long video that things you would say over and over to people. Think, you know, introduction. This is me. This is how I got started in real estate or entrepreneurship. How you prep, like for you, how do you plan your meals around your week and things like that? Or like, what's your buy box like? Things that you would be just constantly answering people. You can just make a 2-minute video and go, here's the link. And now, if it's something that if it's a 2-minute video and it's something that would take you 2 minutes, and you do that 10 times a week or 40 times a week, right? That adds up a lot. And so I save myself a half an hour a lot of the times during a given week by just going, check out this link. Right? Is that something that you use? I feel like yes, but
I haven't used it, but I've seen a lot of people use it. Like when you're booking through like their Calendly or something. Like somebody will send you their Calendly, and it'll at the beginning it'll say like, hey, check out YouTube. This is what you can expect. Like here's who I. So you don't you book especially if it's a 15-minute call, right? You can't really get very far in a conversation in 15 minutes, but in a half-hour call, a lot of times, and something I've been practicing, something we've been learning through, the Growth Co. and all that, on like how to steer the conversation and kind of make it as effective as possible. But it provides you that opportunity to, like, if you sent me your little 2-minute video on who you are and what you're doing, and you looked at mine, we can save ourselves 10 minutes at the beginning of this conversation. Yeah. We've already gotten past the point of what each other are doing, what each other are looking for. And also, somebody who's booking, if I sent you my link, and I told you this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm looking for, this is how I can help, and you go, oh, I don't need those things, like I already have them or whatever, it saves both of us the time of even having the conversation. Not that we
Yeah.
can't connect somehow, but it's just like at this moment I don't need that, or I'm not there yet. So I love that idea. I think that's super helpful, and it's something that I definitely should look into doing, because I know I appreciate it when I see that get sent through other people's links. So yeah, I love that.
I didn't even think about the fact that somebody might watch the video and go, "Oh, that's not what I thought they were about." And now you save yourself 15 or 30 minutes by not having a call where, man, I've had some calls where it's just like 5 minutes into the call. This is not what I was expecting from the call. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Are you drunk right now? No, no.
No, yeah, really? You had
Yeah. It wasn't. It was a different adult consumable.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but I have had that thought before on calls. Like, are you right now? I don't know. But it was after 5. No, I'm just kidding.
Five somewhere.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. The last one that I have written down, which I kind of feel are, well, not the most valuable, but it's a really good one. I think it's even better maybe than the unlisted videos. Time blocking for me is, I think we agree on as the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
Just protecting your time from everything. But regarding being a candle and being able to light people and protecting your time in that respect, making we like a Zoom, being able to say, these are all the people that are in this category of people that I want to be able to help and learn from, teach and grow, and making a 30, 60, whatever length Zoom and saying, hey, come here. And instead of teaching you guys each one-on-one, and a lot of you are going to have the same questions or need the same things or want the same resources, I can now go one to many and and be able to affect more people that way. And that's something that you and I both have put into place. Right, with the podcast, of course, we're trying to bring as much value to as big of an audience as possible, but specifically, right, you have an underwriting Zoom because people were reaching out to you going, hey Zach, I know you're good at underwriting, would you help me with underwriting? You're like, I don't know if it started right as the Zoom or if you were helping people one-on-one and then realized like, oh, all these people are
Yeah,
asking for the same thing.
it was kind of both, and that's actually been helpful because I've had people come up and be like, "Hey, like, I have this small multifamily deal. Like, can you help me look at this?" And I was like, "Okay, well, like, I was like, have you been on my Zooms? Like, I know, I've seen you on the registration list. Like, have you looked at them yet?" They're like, "No." I was like, "Okay, hey, watch this real quick. It's high level. It'll give you the basics, and then when you have questions, come and let me know," because I was hopping on calls with people
Yep.
and working through it, and then it's just like, oh yeah, the seller ended up not even being really that motivated, and I can usually tell right away like how close this is to like working. It's not just like a double check. So that I did that, I don't know, a week or two ago, and that it saved me time for sure, at least a half an hour. And they're, I followed up later and they're like, oh yeah, they ended up not wanting to sell. I was like, okay, perfect. Like, you learned something, hopefully, if you went back and watched it. If not, then it all worked out because I didn't have to spend a ton of time. Like I said, if you went and watched it and were like, hey, I still have a couple of questions on this specific things, perfect. Now we can have a productive conversation. So yes, I agree. It has been super helpful to have those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the, hey, have you watched the Zoom? Or I've seen you register. I have a lot of people that I'm like I gave you the link two messages ago. They're asking for a calendar appointment or something for. I'm like, did you register for it? Oh no, I just registered. Okay, well, it's in like it comes when you register. It kind of reminds me of, I was a tank mechanic in the Marine Corps, and you have like this maintenance book, and the first handful of, or the first volume of the books is the tankers procedures. And it kind of reminded me of this, like a tanker would bring you a question, hey, like, hey, the tank won't start. And you're like, well, did you go through your procedures first? And they'd invariably always say yes. And like the first thing is check the batteries. Like, are the cables connected? I'm like, all right, if I walk out there and the batteries are, it's sure enough, like probably 7 times out of 10, you open up the battery compartment and the batteries aren't connected.
Yep.
Bro, what the heck? It's the first page in your book.
It's like, that's like my dad's in IT, and he's like, there's so many times where it's like, my computer won't turn on. It's like, did you check to see if it was plugged in? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh nope, it wasn't plugged in. And it was like,
Oh my
it was like,
gosh.
here's a list of things like the FAQs, like, hey, here's 10 things that might be happening
Yeah.
and how to fix it. And if you go
Yeah.
through those, then still have issues, let me know. But otherwise, just reboot it because it's probably gonna fix it.
Yeah. So yeah. That's it. Is it plugged in? Okay. Did you try restarting it? Yeah. Oh, well, I guess in that instance, it didn't turn on in the first place. So yeah. But oh, you're frozen a little bit. Hopefully, he's not frozen on the. Oh no, he's coming through back through. So yeah, you have the underwriting Zoom, which I know I've been a part of. I'm not being as active in it um, anymore. I've I realized that I wasn't contributing as much um, as I could have been, I guess, and I have a lot of other things pulling me in other directions. But I know that you're providing a lot of value to people, and like I was saying, kind of, you're instead of going and answering one question when people are coming in an underwriting Zoom, many times they all have the same exact questions or very very similar questions, and by underwriting one deal, 10 people or 15 people are able to look at it and go, oh, okay, that just unlocked something for me, and then
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they're going out and taking action, and then the next week they either aren't there anymore because they figured it out, right? The one thing helped, or they went back and watched the videos that you provide, or they come back and they have different questions. Hey, I did what you talked about last week, and now this is coming up, and
Yeah.
now you're able to take this one person's question and give back to 14 other people, right? That's what I find in my helping hands hour a lot of the times is somebody will come in asking a very a good question about, hey, how do I talk to an agent, or how do I talk to seller in this situation? And as I'm saying it, I see people's eyes go, oh yeah, and like, okay, this is why we're doing this, so I can touch 5 people at one time, and they'll bring questions in that I wouldn't have thought to tell people,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a give and take by having those weekly Zooms, and they don't even have to be weekly, right? You could do a monthly one, or just say, hey, I've been seeing a lot of people reaching out here. I'm going to provide this once off opportunity. So those are kind of the ones that I thought of. Do you have any other ones that you use that other people might be able to incorporate?
No, I mean, I think those encompass like 95%
Yeah.
of the things that I can think of. I mean, they're mostly the ones that I utilize. But like, like you said, it's scheduled, it's weekly, especially the Zooms, right? You have that time where it's like, hey, this is the time period it's happening. It's not happening outside of this, right? But now I can cover a bunch of people. I can learn something, which is nice too. I help a bunch of people at one time. I learn something, and then I know what people are using the information, and I can focus my time on them, especially if they reach outside of the time that it's set up.
Yeah.
But for anything else, no. I mean, I think that covers it.
I did think of, and you kind of brushed over it. I mean, you didn't brush over it, but like having the ability to say no, right, tactfully and respectfully. Sometimes it's because no, I really actually have something going on right now in this exact moment. Sometimes we need to be able to say no because it just isn't aligned with what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? If somebody reaches out to you about crypto and goes, hey, I really want to hop on your schedule and talk to you about crypto, it's really easy to say no,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if somebody says, hey, I really love what you're doing on your podcast, uh, can I jump on your calendar? I'd love to connect with you, and it's a little bit cryptic.
Yeah.
Without saying no, you can say, man, I'd love to connect with you. This is something I stole from, I borrowed from Jesse. Like, I'd love to connect with you, but what would you specifically like to chat about? I like to be really prepared for my 30-minute calls.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts it back on them now. Okay, what do you want? Oh, I just wanted to network with like-minded individuals. Okay, you're gonna have to be more specific, right? Or they'll come back and say something like, I wanted to talk to you about, I don't know, being your transaction coordinator. Like, I don't need that, right?
Yeah.
It's not worth my 30 minutes right now. I wish you the best of luck. Here's some resources for you, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's not. It's not worth a 30-minute Zoom. So that was another little added little. It's not necessarily. I guess it's a way to protect your time. It's a way to kind of weed out the people that might be time wasters.
Yeah.
Being able to say no because it doesn't align with what I'm doing, it doesn't align with what I need, or it doesn't align with the people that I can serve. Right. For me, I'm not, I don't, I know a little bit about transaction coordinating, but I can't provide a whole lot of value out of transaction coordinating.
Yeah.
I have a couple that I would recommend to people. And so I'm already kind of full there, in
Mhm.
that sense. But I appreciate you being here. I think,
Yeah.
wow, yeah, 25 minutes goes by real
Oh,
quick. This is
does.
our first YouTube live. My weekly Zoom is called Helping Hands Hour. I plugged a little bit. Mine goes live Thursdays at noon Eastern time. Zach, when can people see your underwriting Zoom?
My underwriting Zoom is at 3 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, on Zoom. That's live. Just register and
What
hop
day?
on.
What
Friday?
day?
Did I not say day? It's Friday. It's at 3 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, okay. I don't think this was a little bit kind of spur of the moment, the YouTube live thing. So I don't mine did not make it in the show notes yet. I will retroactively go back and put the link for Helping Hands Hour and the link for Zach's underwriting Zoom in my show notes, and then maybe we'll figure out how to coordinate that and just have them both be on the same thing going forward.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Well, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, that works for me.
There you go.